Have you ever had a moment where the entire world tilts on its axis? Where the face of the person you love most becomes a stranger's mask? It happened to me in the sterile, fluorescent glare of a 24-hour pharmacy. My wife Sarah was asleep at home, or so I thought. My phone buzzed with a notification, a credit card charge. $87.45 at a CVS 20 miles across Dallas at 2:17 a.m. It wasn't the money. It was the item description that followed. Lover's escape kit? My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of denial. I pictured her face, the sweet smile she gave me before I left on my business trip, a trip she'd encouraged a little too enthusiastically. I was supposed to be in Austin, but a gut-wrenching feeling, a cold dread that had been coiling in my stomach for months, made me turn the car around on I-35. Now, standing under the flickering lights of a gas station, the digital receipt glowed on my phone screen, a poison green beacon in the dark. It wasn't just a purchase. It was a story, a sordid confession, spelled out in a transaction log. And the most chilling part, CVS was directly across the street from the Omni Hotel. Same hotel my best friend Mark had checked into that afternoon for a work conference. My world didn't just tilt. It shattered. I was standing in the ruins, and I knew, with a certainty that froze the blood in my veins, that this was only the beginning of the nightmare. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The drive home was a blur of red taillights and the hollow echo of my own breathing. Every memory of Sarah's recent behavior clicked into place like a series of tumblers in a lock I never knew existed. The late-night work calls, the sudden obsession with her phone, the way she'd angle the screen away from me with a casualness that now felt rehearsed and insulting. She'd become a ghost in our own home, physically present but emotionally 1,000 miles away. When I'd ask if something was wrong, she'd deploy that infuriatingly calm smile. "You're just stressed, honey. Everything's fine." It was a masterclass in manipulation, making me question my own sanity. She made me feel like the villain for harboring suspicion, for noticing the growing chasm between us. The villains always feel untouchable, wrapped in a cloak of arrogance, and she wore hers like a second skin. I walked into our house on McKinney Avenue, the silence deafening. The home we'd built, every piece of furniture, every framed photo, now felt like a stage set for a play where I was the fool. I found her asleep, looking angelic under the soft glow of the bedside lamp. The sight of her, so peaceful, so utterly devoid of guilt, broke something inside me. It wasn't a loud snap, but a quiet final fracture. The love I had for her, a vast and towering thing, crumbled into dust. In its place, something cold and hard began to form. The humiliation was a physical weight, pressing down on my chest, stealing the air from my lungs. But beneath the pain, a new, chilling clarity emerged. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to dismantle her world, piece by piece, just as she had dismantled mine. The next few weeks were an exercise in brutal self-control. I became an actor in my own life, playing the part of the devoted, slightly oblivious husband. I'd kiss her goodbye in the morning, my lips turning to ice the moment I was out the door. The real work began in secret. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop, who operated out of a small office in Deep Ellum. I didn't need confirmation. I needed ammunition. I needed dates, times, locations, a meticulous, undeniable record of her betrayal. While he did his work, I did mine. I started documenting everything. I took screenshots of the endless texts between her and Mark, filled with sickening pet names and plans for their next rendezvous. I found receipts from expensive dinners at the French Room, places she'd told me were client meetings. I even placed a GPS tracker on her car. Each piece of evidence was a nail in the coffin I was building for her. The trap was twofold: legal and social. Sarah came from a wealthy family, and her social standing was everything to her. Her father was a partner at a prestigious Dallas law firm, the same firm that handled our prenuptial agreement, heavily skewed in her favor if I was the one at fault. So I scheduled a meeting with a bulldog of a divorce attorney, a woman known for her scorched earth tactics. We laid out the plan. We would let Sarah file first, positioning her as the aggrieved party, citing my emotional distance and unfounded jealousy. It was a script she was already writing in her head. The social trap was more delicate, more public. Sarah was co-chairing a major charity gala for the Dallas Museum of Art, the pinnacle of her social calendar. Her entire circle, her family, her friends, they would all be there. This would be our stage. My pie had delivered the final, devastating payload. Photos. Not just grainy, long lens shots, but crystal clear images of Sarah and Mark. My best friend, kissing in the parking garage of the Omni, their faces illuminated by the cold, unforgiving light of a street lamp. They looked so happy, so carefree, untouchable. The night of the gala arrived. Sarah was radiant, in a glittering gown, a queen in her castle. She held my arm, whispering about the seating charts, completely oblivious. I watched her glide through the crowd, accepting compliments, her laughter echoing in the grand hall. Mark was there too, giving me a nod and a smug little smile from across the room. The performance was almost over. As the main presentation began, a massive screen behind the stage lit up with a slideshow celebrating the museum's patrons. It started with smiling faces, society photos, a montage of Dallas's elite, and then it happened. My attorney had a contact with the AV team. Smiling faces vanished. First photo appeared on the 20-foot screen. Sarah and Mark locked in an embrace in that hotel parking garage. A collective gasp sucked the air out of the room. The next photo, them checking into the Omni, her hand on his back. Then another and another. Silent, brutal narrative of their affair, broadcast for her entire world to see. The room was dead silent. I turned to look at Sarah. Her face a moment ago so full of pride was a canvas of pure horror. The color drained from her cheeks. Her smile was gone, replaced by a gaping mouth. Her eyes darted around the room, meeting 100 pairs of staring, judging eyes. She was naked, exposed, stripped of her dignity in an instant. Her father's face was a thundercloud of fury. Mark had simply vanished, a coward to the last. She looked at me, her eyes finally pleading, finally understanding. But the man she was looking at, the man who had loved her, was gone. In his place was a stranger, his face calm, his eyes cold as stone. The legal papers were served to her the next morning. The prenup was voided by the infidelity clause. Her father's firm dropped her. Her friends wouldn't take her calls. She was ruined, completely and utterly. I never saw her again after the lawyers were done. Sometimes late at night I drive past that CVS on the other side of town. Its lights still buzzing, a monument to the moment everything broke. The revenge wasn't sweet, it was just empty. It's quiet now. In the house we once shared, but the silence is a heavy, suffocating thing. The end.